Hey, what's up? I'm Coach RT3, and let's get started with your CARs. This is the full body daily routine. We're going to start from head and work our way down to the toes. So let's start with our cervical CARs. Cervical CARs are our neck CARs. Cervical is just a fancy word for saying neck stuff. So we're going to start by staying nice and tall, bringing our chin to our chest, moving our neck like a slinky. We're going to open up in the back of the neck there, flexing, bringing the chin down to the chest. From here, we're going to take the chin, we're going to draw a little semicircle or quarter of a circle over to the collarbone as we rotate. We're going to look over the shoulder, so rotate as much as you can until you look over the shoulder. Tip the ear back behind the head. We're going to take the chin up and across the ceiling, drawing a line across the ceiling with that pin on the tip of our chin, all the way over to our other collarbone. We're going to tip the ear forward, and then we're going to draw that circle back to center, and then we're going to take that circle and pass through for our next few reps. The next one we're going to move to is our thoracolumbar CARs. That's this stuff here between your cervical spine and before your lumbar. And it's going to involve a little bit of your lumbar CARs. Goal here is to not move or swivel through the hips. We're going to take our hands, bring them across our shoulders, hug ourselves. We're going to bring the chin to the chest. We're going to pin it to our chest. From here, we're going to flex into a C. We're going to imagine we have lasers on our shoulders and lasers on our hip bones. We're trying to get those two things to point towards each other. So we're flexing as much as we can. From there, when we run out of flexion here, we're going to rotate. So we're twisting, taking those lasers and we're turning them away. Now the lasers on our hips should stay forward towards the wall or towards the camera, towards you. Once you run out of rotation here, we're going to tip to the side, spilling out of the shoulder here, bringing our elbows into our rib cage. From there, we're going to extend back behind us. As we extend back behind us, we're being careful not to push the hips forward. Everything below our hips is in a block of cement. We're going to rotate all the way over as we're moving through extension. Those lasers are now pointing towards the ceiling, the ones on our shoulder. We're going to pull the elbows down into the rib cage. From there, we're going to tip up. After we tip up, we're going to rotate, and we'll pass through once again for our reps going that direction, and then you can reverse that and do it the opposite direction. Next, we're going to do our shoulder CARs. So we're going to start here. We're going to take our palm, we're going to face it towards away from us. So we're rotating our humerus so that our palm faces away from us. Okay, so now this middle part of my bicep is pointing towards you. I'm going to bring my arm across the body into adduction, trying to squeeze out as much adduction as I can, pinching this stuff here. And then I'm going to come up and overhead into flexion. Once I run out of room in flexion, I'm going to imagine I have a big X on the bicep. It's facing my ear right now. I'm going to take that and I'm going to turn it away from me. So now that I've turned it away from me, I'm going to rotate into internal rotation. So that's internal rotation. And now I'm going to extend back behind me. Now I'm going to have to turn to the side to show you what's going on. So I'm extending back behind me here. I'm continuing to rotate into internal rotation until the back of my palm is next to my pocket. Once I'm there, I'm going to extend back, run out of extension there. I'm going to begin to rotate into external rotation. Externally rotate, sweep up and overhead into flexion, chop across the body again into adduction, and return to my side. Next, we'll do elbow CARs. So starting with the palms facing you, I'm going to bring my elbows and bend them until my palms are facing my shoulders. Now, when my palms are facing my shoulders, I'm going to try and squeeze out some rotation because rotation is the fundamental movement of this joint. So an elbow joint that doesn't rotate is not a good quality functioning elbow joint. So I'm going to try to squeeze out supination. So that's trying to take these thumbs or take this elbow and rotate it away from us. So I'm trying to rotate this direction. From here, I'm going to extend down. And then I'm going to rotate here at the bottom into pronation. So now I'm facing away from, my hands are facing away from you. And now I'm going to flex again, this time trying to squeeze out more of that. So I'm trying to rotate the opposite direction. Okay, from here, I'm going to rotate again, into supination, squeeze out as much supination as I can, and extend down. Okay, now I'm going to come back up in supination. So I'm going to keep my arms in supination, try to squeeze out as much as I can, and then from here I'm going to rotate into pronation again. Hands are facing you, and I'm going to squeeze out more and more and more and more of that as I go all the way down into extension, squeezing the triceps at the end, making sure I get the most out of that full extension of the elbow. Next, I'm going to do wrist CARs. So we're going to start with our palms facing up towards the sky, like we've got a serving tray. We're going to take the pinkies towards one another. Once we run out of the ability to bring them towards one another, I'm going to take my palms and show them to you, so facing away. Now the key here is to make sure we're not rotating here at the elbow, because remember, that's elbow stuff. So we're imagining we have our favorite thing sitting on our forearm, and we don't want that to spill over. So as I show the palms to you, we're trying to keep that from spilling over. We sweep to the outside. We bring our palms back to face us and return and continue that motion. Now we're going to go back the opposite direction. Bring the palms towards our face, sweep out, extend, show you the palms, bring the pinkies towards one another, and then bring the palms back towards the face. Next, we'll do scapular CARs. So we're going to take the palms, we're going to bring them to the sides. We're going to put them on our seams of our pants, like we have train tracks there, and our middle finger is going to slide up and down that track, but we don't want it to slide in front of us or slide behind us. So as we first move up, we're going to elevate our scapula. So bringing our shoulders up like we're saying, I don't know. Then we're going to imagine these two shoulders want to kiss each other. We're going to try to bring those two towards each other, okay, for protraction. And then we're going to drop down into depression. So bringing the scapulas down into our back pockets. And then we're going to bring the scapulas back towards one another, trying to kiss those shoulders in the back there. Being careful not to bend at the elbows. Okay, elevate, protract, depress, retract. We can reverse that, going the opposite direction, protract, elevate, retract, depress. All right, next we'll go down to our hips. So we're going to imagine that everything here outside of this hip is in a block of cement. We don't want any rotation, we don't want any swiveling, we don't want any elevation and dropping of the other hip. So I'm going to start by holding on to something. I'm going to take my hip that I plan to move, and I'm going to take my leg off the ground. From here, I'm going to sweep across the midline. So we don't have much adduction. That's okay. We're just trying to pinch those two thighs together. From here, I'm going to take my knee and move into kind of a hacky sack position so I can scoop into external rotation. So I'm going to scoop out as much external rotation as I can as I'm moving into flexion. Once I run out of external rotation and flexion, I'm going to begin to rotate the leg until I move into more flexion. I'm going to open into abduction, so opening the gate, being careful not to rotate through the torso. From here, I'm going to begin my internal rotation, so I'm trying to rotate this bone this way. And once I rotate here, show you from the side, once I rotate here, I'm going to move into extension, being careful not to tip over like so. We don't have a whole lot of extension, and then bring the knees to join one another. From here, I'm going to extend back, squeezing this stuff here. I'm going to open the gate again, or open the door for my hip into abduction, begin to go into external rotation. So I'm returning to the external rotation I came from, and then I'm going to drive these two together, trying to squeeze out that adduction as I return to the start. Next, we're going to do knee CARs. So knee CARs or tibial CARs, rotation is the fundamental movement of the knee joint. So I'm going to start on the ground. That's going to be the simplest way for me to attack this to start. So I'm going to lock my thigh into place, so this bone, so that I can move this bone. Now, rotation is fundamental movement of the joint, so I should be able to rotate here. If I can't rotate here, then that's the first thing I need to address, okay? Finding rotation through this tibia here. Once I've found rotation, I'm going to rotate into internal rotation and then extend. Rotate into external rotation, extend, rotate into internal rotation, and extend. Okay, so that's blocking this leg here. What I want to also do is be able to do this from a standing position. So I'm going to bend the knee, I'm going to rotate in the back, and I'm going to extend. I'm going to bend the knee, rotate in the back into external rotation, and extend. The objective is not to rotate through this point here. So if we draw a line down the middle of the thigh, this line should not change as I rotate the tibia in the back. Flex, rotate, extend. Okay? Next, we'll do ankle CARs. So standing ankle CARs, I'll just bring the leg out in front of me. I'm going to point the toe away from me. So pointing the big toe into plantar flexion. I'm going to scoop the inside of the peanut butter jar into supination. I'm going to take that big toe, point it towards my face, and then I'm going to sweep across into pronation. And then I'm going to point the toe again, sweep across the bottom, point the toe back up to me. Reverse that, pointing the toe away, sweep across, bring the big toe up towards you, sweep across the midline again, and point down and away. Start there with 3 to 5 reps per joint for your daily CAR routine.